Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Beach Travel Wine podcast. We are doing something different in this episode, so just when our podcast is really taking off, we decided to change it up, but just temporarily. Today we take you behind the scenes and tell you all about our decision and planning on our Tripadeal tour of Mexico. This is our first ever organised tour, and we are going to record an audio journal every day and put together a podcast series on what it's really like to do this tour. Not just the fun stuff, but everything. From basics like transport and accommodation and how much things cost, to the nitty gritty of what's actually included and what we do every day, and also what we think about each place. In this episode, we share why we are doing this particular Tripadeal tour, how much the trip costs and how much we are taking to spend, and that's a bit of a funny story, where we are going on the Best of Mexico 17-day tour and what we're going to see, and what we've learnt so far about Mexico in our pre-trip research that actually just involves some Netflix shows, and how we actually plan to do the podcast journal every day, and also where I will be spending my birthday in Mexico. Listen to the end to hear how you can get all the juicy details that might not make the G-rated episodes. So we hope you will come along for the ride on our Tripadeal, no promotion there, the Tripadeal 17-day Best of Mexico tour. Cheers! And welcome to the Beach Travel Wine podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Leanne.
And I'm Lyle, and this is the travel podcast for beach-loving, wine-drinking couples over 50.
So if that sounds like you, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax and listen as we go travelling the world, one wine at a time.
Cheers.
Hola, mi amor. Hello, hello, hello.
Buenos dias, Leonita. Back to the Spanish.
I know. How exciting is that? And we're back to Spanish because we are off to Mexico.
Or as they say, Mexico.
Do they? Who says that?
I just did.
You just did. Today's episode's a little bit different to our normal episodes because we haven't been to Mexico yet. We are going, but we're doing something different. And for us, it's a first. It might even be a world first, I'm thinking.
No, I think it's just the first for us.
Really?
I think you might be exaggerating there.
Since when do we let the truth get in the way of a good story, Lyle?
Fair call.
So what we're going to be doing is we are going on an organised tour to Mexico. Right, and normally, if you've listened to our podcast, you know that we do all the organising ourselves, and we like to stay in places for a while and explore. But we are going to do a 17-day tour through Mexico. Now, why are we doing this, Lyle?
Okay, why are we doing this, Leonita? I'm not sure.
Well, because in 2020, we booked a tour. Back in, it was 2019, we booked it for 2020. We were going to be meeting up with some friends.
In Sicily.
Right, and we were going to stay longer as well. So
Sure.
It was part of the beginning of our tour. And that, of course, got cancelled for obvious reasons. And then we rebooked last year, and they didn't get enough numbers for the tour.
Yeah.
And so we were left with a voucher that we needed to use or book by the end of last year. And so because it's not a long, I didn't want to go to Europe for, a short time because jet lag really, kicks in. We wanted to go another Spanish-speaking country, basically, didn't we?
Yes, yeah. we did. The emphasis on we. You wanted to go to another Spanish-speaking.
Says Mr. Lyle, who practices his Spanish every morning. Goodness gracious.
And I haven't improved.
So that was the logic, and so we chose Mexico because I didn't think it would be as long a flight, which it turns out it takes us a fair while to get there, but the flights aren't so long. We actually leave Brisbane at 11:30 in the morning, and it's a 13-hour flight straight to San Francisco.
Yep, direct.
And then we have a bit of a break, and then we fly. It's 4.5 hours from San Francisco into Mexico City, which is where we arrive. So if you're flying to Europe, the first, it's 14.5 hours normally, and then it's another 9 hours. So it's basically cutting a fair few hours of the actual fly time off. But there's still a bit of time involved. But we'll be able to get out and walk around the airports and have a bit of an explore there in San Francisco Airport.
Sure.
So that's why we're going, and we're flying United. I haven't flown them before, so that'll be interesting as well. But what we're going to do, and this is the part that I think is, quite unique for us, is we're going to do a daily audio. So before I'm going to let Lyle out at night for a drink, we're going to sit down and do a 10-minute recording of.
Well, that could be 5 minutes.
5 minutes. It's just we're going to do a recording of everything we've done in the day, the nitty-gritty stuff, not just what we've seen, which there'll be all the photos and things like that, but what it's really like to be on a tour. Do you have to get up early every day? Is it too far in a bus? What are all?
Oh, like the travel between towns.
The travel between towns.
Too long on the bus. Yeah.
What you see, were the stops good? What the facilities at the hotel were like. I don't even know if we're going to have the toiletries at the hotel, all the little bits and pieces that you don't even think about. We're going to do that each day, and we're going to put it together and as a podcast episode. And we'll probably do 2 of those, and divide it into weeks, and then we end in Cancun, and we're going to do a podcast from Cancun as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward.
So where's Cancun?
In Mexico.
Yeah, but where?
Why?
Because I've heard of it.
It's on the the peninsula. It's right down
Which
south.
Which peninsula?
Yeah, no, it's right down south in the border. Yucatan Peninsula. Oh, you're a smart ass. I was going to say Yucatan, but I'm like, is it a yucca or Yucatan? Oh, you got me. Oh, what an ass.
So very often happens. I'm pretty happy about that.
So let's just go back a few steps. So booking with Tripadeal, that's who we're going with. So we are booking with Tripadeal is really quite easy. It's all online. Although I do find it really hard, to make a big decision to pay out thousands of dollars, because as soon as you book, you pay with Tripadeal, and so it is very easy. But you need to be really sure, and there's not a lot of interaction with them. And I guess that's how they keep their prices a bit low. Having said that, though, if you need anything, they take your call, and they're really, really helpful. And I've had to ask a few questions about a few bits and pieces, just about visas and things, and they were very helpful. Now, I have been to Mexico before. Yes, about 13 years ago. Lyle hasn't, but the places we're going to this time, I haven't been. So, and one thing I found interesting, Lyle, was people's opinions when you say you're going to Mexico. There's like 2 extremes. There's, I was telling a few friends, and one of them said, "Oh, I'm so jealous. I really wanted to go there for my 60th birthday," and then someone else was saying, "Yeah, my wife wants to go there for her 30th, that's like their dream country." And then you get the other end of the spectrum where people are like, "Oh, God, be safe. I hope you don't get kidnapped, and watch out for the drug cartels and things." So there's not really a middle ground with Mexico, isn't there? And even people have said it'll be interesting to see what you think of it, because it's never been on my radar. So, I'm sort of excited to be able to share what it's really like, so we can hopefully don't get taken by the drug lords, and we can share some really interesting stories. So,
you could tell our friends that I've actually started to grow a beard because I didn't want to look like a gringo, so that I could blend in to the environment. So
he still probably will look like a gringo,
only because it's a bit red.
So one of the things I guess people we want to talk about too is the cost of it. So the trip we're doing is called the Best of Mexico, and for 15 days for one person, it's Australian dollars $4,899, and that includes daily breakfast. And you have an option to stay an extra 2 days in Cancun, and then that puts the price up to $5,299, and that's including flights. That's your flights, your accommodation, and all the transport between. There's a few tours and things, like walking tours and things, that are included in that. And if you're solo, it's going to cost you an extra $1,050. So that's still pretty reasonably priced holiday, right? Now, we've also decided we're going to take $100 per person per day as spending money, which when you think about it, it's probably ridiculous, right? Like, we're not going to spend that much money. So because we went and got that changed into pesos, and we feel like we're walking around with
Yeah, I think I'm not sure we did the right thing there.
Yeah, overestimated. Well, you can use US dollars, but if you've got pesos, that's what they prefer. So
Sure.
And when we also did some research and were told that if you pay in pesos, it's cheaper. They have two prices, don't they?
Yeah, they said about the American dollar.
That's right.
If you pay in American dollars, it's actually more expensive. So, and because we're tight asses, we went for the pesos.
Pesos, sorry, that's right. And we've got cash, and we also have an ING Visa debit a card that we use, to tap. But I think there'll be a lot of, street vendors and food trucks and things like that where you.
Yeah, well, they
need
also
cash.
say that they do expect tips.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's no point. You can't tip them with a card. So that's another reason why we got the
cash.
Pesos.
Pesos. Fair enough. Another thing we're going to be doing is we're hoping to maybe talk to other people on the podcast, people that we're travelling with, maybe do an interview. We haven't done that yet. And, maybe other people are travelling for the first time. Maybe
Sure.
they're seasoned Tripadeal, travellers. And it'll be interesting to get their perspective on, what they think this tour's like.
Yeah.
And maybe even the tour guide, so
Yeah, well, I would have thought that would be, ideal to speak to the tour guide and get their perspective on, what they think of the passengers.
And we might even, do some recording on the bus or when we're walking around some of the sites, so it'll be a bit of a exciting mix, I think, don't you?
So really what you're saying is we're going to have to play nice with others.
Correct. So I guess the next thing to really cover is what's the itinerary, okay? And so I'm just going to give everybody a quick overview of what we're going to do. So as I said previously, we fly into Mexico City, don't we? And Lyle and I have been watching a few Netflix shows and things on Mexico, and there's one called what's that one? Somebody Feed Phil.
Yeah.
And he went to Mexico City, didn't he?
Yeah,
and sort of rated the food and restaurants there pretty highly, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he's it's all based on food, really.
Sure.
His whole podcast, and I'm sure we don't have to. I mean, we can choose what we eat, but I was very surprised that instead of using, salt and pepper, they crush ants.
Yes.
In the more elaborate restaurants, and that they have worms in their salad. I was sure that they were moving. Leanne basically said, "Don't be a dill." Of course, they're not moving.
They weren't moving.
So we're gonna experience some different styles of food. But then we also, during the show, they showed the street vendors and and how much pork they use and it looked beautiful. So and they explained the mola.
Yeah,
which is
mole.
Mole. Hey Annie, if you're listening,
which is like a sauce, but it's like a sauce that they keep adding to. It never stops.
Yeah.
All right. So okay, Mexico City. We start in, and so we arrive about 5:00 in the afternoon. And so I guess, then you're just there at your hotel and, go out, maybe wander out to find something to eat. Day tour is a full day city tour of Mexico City where you're picked up and you're driven around and you see the old colonial centre and the Zocalo and the main square and all that sort of stuff. And then you head off to Alameda Park. So, there's lots of famous
I'm very much looking forward to Alameda Park because that's where when they they declared that the Spanish had the Mexicans had got their independence from Spain. The new president, and his name was Santa Anna.
Yes.
He decreed that all the fountains in that particular park, and there are 5, should be filled with alcohol. So good old,
Santa Anna.
President Santa Anna, and I can't wait to see those fountains.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I love a fountain, don't you?
You do.
So that's day 2. Day 3, we head off to see. Okay, listen to this. Teotihuacan.
What did you call me?
It's it's a 200-kilometre day, and we go to Teotihuacan, which is on the way to Puebla, and that's the famous ruins. So it's, often it's one of the highlights when people visit Mexico City. So it's a vast archaeological complex. So that should be a lot of fun. It's got like the Avenue of the Dead, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, the Pyramid of the Moon, the Pyramid of the Sun. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And then after that, we head on to Cholula. So that's pretty nice, and we stay the night there. And so day 4, we are heading. You jump in any time with anything you want to add?
Yeah,
there,
well, the pyramid at Cholula,
yes.
According to the Guinness Book of Records, it is in fact the largest pyramid, as well as the largest monument ever constructed anywhere in the world. So it's even bigger than the big one in Egypt.
Pyramids of Giza, sure.
Is it Giza or Gazi?
Giza.
Is it? Fair enough. You know, you've been there.
I have. So day 4, we do a walking tour. There's a few walking tours, and around the City of Angels, it's called, which was founded in 1531.
Is that like Los Angeles?
Yeah, probably. And then it's about a 340k day then, and that's to Oaxaca City. And we've watched a few shows on Oaxaca too. I love Oaxaca. It's spelt Oaxaca. It's crazy, isn't it? So Oaxaca. So we arrive at Oaxaca, and we have the evening at leisure, it says. So now day 5, which is February 25, which is my birthday, I'm pretty happy. We are going to do a Oaxaca walking tour, and then we are going to Monte Alban. Now, Monte Alban is the former Zapotec stronghold, in the outskirts. So it's basically a huge site of ruins. It's the centre of the Zapotec and Mixtec culture. So it's now, the original construction was placed before the 8th century BC. So there's plazas, pyramids, tombs, all sorts of stuff. So I'm looking forward to walking around that one on my birthday.
You, honey?
Yes.
That's good.
And then we return for an evening of leisure. So I can have a nice glass of wine.
And I did look that there's 13 regions, or 13, don't quote me on this, but it just came to my head.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's like 13 regions of wine area in Mexico. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Well, speaking of wine, the next day, though, we head off to a mezcal brewery. So that is at Tehuantepec. Hey, how do you like that? Which is another archaeological site. And then we head to do the mezcal brewery tour. And then we head then to stay overnight at Tehuantepec in Oaxaca. Oh, that's a big day. And then day 7, we're off to Sumidero Canyon, and then we finish at San Cristobal de las Casas, which is a 300-odd-k day. So, and we have we explore the canyon and stuff there, which looks really nice.
We have a boat ride.
Yeah, a boat ride up through the canyon. It looks like with these sheer cliffs, it looks amazing. And then we actually have the next day is a free day in San Cristobal, which I reckon by then we're going to need a free day, don't you? There's
sure.
a lot of work, a lot of moving around. And then day 9, we leave San Cristobal and head to the beautiful Agua Azul waterfall on our way to Palenque. And you see the pictures of that, like it's like...
What did you call it?
Palenque.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I thought it was Palenque. Well,
isn't that what I said?
Sort of really what you said, I suppose. Not the first time, but anyway, okay.
Okay, Palenque. So yeah, San Cristobal through to the waterfalls and onto Palenque. So apparently it's been called the waterfalls the most beautiful natural attraction in Mexico. So it's
Well, they haven't seen you, honey.
The Agua Azul waterfall is in the blue water biosphere of southern Chiapas, just nearby Mexico's famous archaeological park at Palenque. So the crystalline blue waters are coloured in simple terms by the large amount of limestone deposits. So it's it's got sort of white edges and the beautiful blue. So, and we can have a swim there. So that'll be exciting, won't it? And then so we have a night at Palenque, and dinner at leisure, they say. So hopefully we're going to find somewhere nice to have dinner there. The next day, day 10, we're off on a guided tour and to Campeche. And we have a nice hotel, which is about a 300-kilometre day again. So you get picked up from your hotel, you do the archaeological site, and apparently it's swathed in morning jungle mist and echoing to a dawn chorus of howler monkeys and parrots. The mighty Maya temples of Palenque are deservedly one of the top destinations of Chiapas. Sounds cool, doesn't it?
Sounds good.
Yeah. And you've been looking at the hotels. You've looked them all up, and they all look. There's a couple that look really nice with lovely gardens, and they, a lot of them have pools and things. So it'll be, once again, we'll be able to tell you all about it.
Sure.
Like what the hotel's like, how far it is, are there restaurants around, to easily get dinner and that sort of stuff.
Whether or not you can get salt and pepper or you just get ants.
Just get ants, yeah. Day 11, we're doing a walking tour around the city, and then we're off to Uxmal, which is spelt Uxmal, so Uxmal. And I've listened to a few travel podcasts about Mexico, and quite a few of the people say this is their favourite archaeological site, is Uxmal. So that'll be great. It's Uxmal is like an ancient Mayan city declared part of UNESCO heritage in 1996. So apparently it's an impressive set of ruins. There's a lot of ruins, so I hope we don't get sick of them. Might be a bit like churches in Spain. Anyway, we'll let you know what we think.
Sure.
Along the way, won't we? And then day 12 we're off to Merida, which looks beautiful, doesn't it? You've had a real look at Merida.
Yeah. And that's a port city, so you're right on the ocean.
Yeah, and one of the famous archaeological sites, I think if people think of Mexico, they think of Chichen Itza, and that's, the step sort of pyramids, it's massive. And so we're going to do a tour of that on our way to Cancun. And I'm a bit excited about going to Cancun. Our hotel there looks amazing. Once again, we've done a fair bit of research on the Cancun area. And
have you been there?
No, haven't been.
Oh, your boy has.
Yep.
Cody has. Yeah.
So, so we've got a free day. Day 13's a free day in Cancun, and basically the rest of the days are free days in Cancun.
So how many days have we got in Cancun?
Well, we get there on day 13 and we leave on day 17.
Okay.
So, but day 17 is a travel day, and it's a bit of a effort to get home. We fly Cancun to LAX, which is Los Angeles, to Sydney to Brisbane. So I know
it's going to be a pain in the ass.
Anyway, that's part of getting the cheaper flights, right? So
sure.
So that's a pretty big, that's a pretty good overview of the tour, and it looks pretty impressive, don't you reckon?
Sure.
Yeah. And you've done a little bit of research, and we'll be able to tell you lots of the history and stuff of the places we go, won't we?
Yep.
I really have no idea what our Wi-Fi is going to be like along the way, our internet. We are taking our laptop and obviously our microphone and stuff to do our recordings of the podcast. But I'm thinking I'll be maybe sending a couple of little emails along the way too, just with some of the stuff that probably won't make the G-rated podcast. So there'll be a link to sign up to the email list in the show notes with this episode. So if you want all the dirt of what's really going on, then that's probably where you'll find it. So yeah, check that out. So I guess, Lyle, it's probably a good idea to talk about maybe the pros and cons, of doing a tour, like what we think before, and then we can tell you at the end what were the real pros and the real cons, right? So this is all just what I guess, we think. So should we start with the positives or negatives first?
Oh, I think you should choose that.
Oh, you could have some input. Okay, let's look at the pros, right? So doing an organised tour, one thing is how much it's going to cost, except for you spending money. There's no hidden prices. Everything's paid up front. In fact, I've said that this holiday is costing us nothing because we paid for it back in 2019.
Yes.
I know you and my son tell me it doesn't work like that, but it sort of feels like that because there's no money coming out of the bank account, to cover it. It's been paid for nearly 4 years. So, but that's good, because often, you want to know the budget. You don't have to think about it. You pay your money, and that's the final sort of thing, except for your spending money. And I guess one of the biggest pros is it's all organised for you. You don't have to do research on any hotels, any transport. It's, because that's a big thing when we organise our own holidays is all the research. I mean, I quite enjoy that though. It's, it's a lot of, but obviously a lot of people don't like that, and they have limited time. They just want to go and have it all organised. And that's probably another pro, is you could get to see a lot in a small amount of time, which could also be a negative, but for people who are maybe time poor, that's obviously a positive for going on an organised tour. And you also have a guide, and whenever we go away and we do tours, we do find guides great, you learn so much more. So this tour, you have like a guide with you, and with all the local knowledge, so every day you've got someone to help you if you've got any problems, but also to give you information about the local area, the local history, where to go and eat and all that sort of thing. So that's I reckon that's pretty cool, yeah?
Yeah, and you'll get to show off the fact that you can speak Spanish, because all the other people on the tour will be Australian, and I doubt very much whether anybody else will be able to speak Spanish.
And you're not going to try and speak Spanish?
I might try, but because none of those speak Spanish, they're not going to know whether I'm correct or not. So I might just bullshit. Yeah,
it might be interesting to see the difference between how you speak Spanish in Spain as opposed to how they sound and speak in Mexico. I'm sure there'll be some differences.
Oh, I think we'll both still sound like we've got Spanish Australian accents.
Yeah, probably. But I'm looking forward to practicing my Spanish again. And the other thing is you meet new people, and it's obviously people who A, are interested in Mexico, and B, interested in travel, and that's always a good thing, to meet other people that are...
Yeah, that's my favourite part about travelling, is actually meeting new people, and I suppose we've met some of our best friends have been from travel, so I'm looking forward to that.
So look out. Be like, you want to make a friend?
Yeah. How did you say that? You want to make a friend?
You want to make a friend?
But that's a little bit how's your father? But I just think that, my attitude is I'm just going in with an open mind.
Yep.
It's totally different than what I've done previously. But yeah, look, we always have a good time. So,
and I guess the other thing is, it's Mexico. I don't know enough about the infrastructure or get the transport between places, that it's not a country I would feel comfortable travelling on my own unless I've been there and sort of had a bit of a look around. That's and I think a lot of people travel to Mexico just to go, especially people from the States, just to go to one sort of resort town. So a lot of people don't travel through Mexico. So now some cons, some things that could be a problem. I did say you travel a lot. There's a lot of bus travel, but we can read, you can sleep. The buses are air-conned, so that might not be a bad thing. But you do travel a lot, and you cover a lot of places in a short time, which may be an issue for us. It'll be interesting to see how we feel about that, because that's not normally the way we travel, but we do have the luxury of having the time to do that. So we might find that good, we might not. So it'll be interesting, yeah?
I think that because we've done a little bit of research, as you say, on Netflix and different other shows and podcasts about Mexico City, I think...
Or about Mexico in general.
Well, probably more so for me, Mexico City.
Okay.
We're really only going to be there for a day, and I think that... And we've already said that it's going to be more likely than not that we're going to go back.
Yeah, so I don't even think we're going to get to see the Frida Kahlo Museum, which is,
I have been surprised with how many people have said that Mexico City is one of their favourite cities in the world.
Yeah, me too, actually.
And so I don't think, from that
it's bigger than New York.
Yeah, it's the biggest population
in the Americas, they say.
Yeah. So it's going to be busy, but I think there's things that we probably would like to see that we're not, but we can always go back.
So another maybe a con, or would be that maybe it's a bit more expensive than doing it yourself. You've got the cost of, you know, the agent putting it together has to be absorbed in there. But, mate, you know, like I think Tripadeal keep it reasonably cheap because they don't have, you know, like it's all basically online. It's your online travel agent, so that's not really it. And maybe we're only seeing the real tourist, you know, sites, and we don't get off the main road to explore. That, you know, that's something that might be, you know, obviously we're seeing all the major archaeological sites, and but, you know, they're touristy for a reason because, you know, we're worth seeing. So that's, you know, I've got to get over that. It's really busy. There's not a lot of downtime. So, but each night we have time to ourselves. There's a couple of free days, and at the end we finish with some free days. So, you know, that might be all we need. And of course, you don't get a choice in where you stay or where you go, but that's just part of doing a tour, right? That's
sure.
You know. And some days will be very long and tiring. You know, like some of them are, you know, 360 k's. That's a fair bit of driving in a day, but they're broken up with stops. So and, you know, sometimes you wait around for others. You know, some people are a bit slow getting back to the bus or, you know, that sort of thing, and that can be a bit frustrating. I've heard, you know, like... But there, you know, the other thing is, you know, I'm talking about making friends. There might be the other end of that where, you know, some people are just an absolute pain in the arse. And I think...
That might be us.
I was going to say, we just need to be careful it's not us, right? I did hear this quote, like, there's always one in a group, and if there's not one, it must be you.
Yeah, fair. That's a fair call.
Yeah, so we've got to make sure that, you know, it's not us. Oh, hello, we're the famous podcasters from Australia, you know.
Well, I think you should explain to our friends that the reason why we're doing this podcast is just to explain that we are going to go through a period now where, because we've been putting a podcast out every week.
Yes. And
this is going to be a bit different because we're going to be on the road. We leave, I think, next Tuesday, and I think that...
yeah, so that's right. So when this podcast comes out, there'll be another 2 or 3 afterwards that are about the trip, that we're, you know, like that sort of journal of what we're doing. They're not just going to be a city-specific podcast that we normally do. We will do those as well, you know, like we'll do all the research and, you know, tell you about Mexico City on its own, and Oaxaca and those sorts of things. But the plan is to, you know, give you a real, you know, inside view of what it's like to be on a tour for the first time, and, you know, like what the day-to-day of it's like. You know, that's the plan. And
yeah, we've been a little bit concerned that you know, that our consistency, which is really important to us, and I suppose our plan to do podcasts has been to be very consistent, whereas this is sort of going to interrupt that a little bit, even though there's going to be a different style of podcast. It's not going to be the same. And we've found that since we've been doing the Australian podcast, our
numbers have gone right up.
Our numbers have gone through the roof.
Just as the podcast has really taken off, we're changing it up.
We're changing it. So we're a little bit worried about that, and we just wanted to explain that we will be going back to the way we do it. In fact, we've just booked a holiday to Italy, and that is... When are we going there?
Oh, you know all the stuff.
You're
giving everything away. You don't keep any secrets, do you?
No, well, just to let them know. Because that, again, we'll be doing the Mexican podcast, and then we'll be doing probably more than likely the Italian. We're away there for about 8 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, we've got a whole bunch of other Australian
we have
stuff. So... yeah, well, you know, we really appreciate everybody listening. It's been fabulous.
It has been fabulous, and yeah, I just hope that you enjoy this format for the next few episodes, because I think it's going to be a hoot. I think it's going to be insightful. I think, you know, if you've ever thought about going on a tour, or you've been on a tour and you loved it, or you've been on a tour and you hated it, maybe you'll have, you know, some thoughts on the podcast as well. So yeah, and as I said, pop over to the show notes. There's a link in the podcast description to go to the show notes where you can sign up for the email list, and, you know, I'll just be sending, you know, like a short couple of paragraphs, maybe with a couple of pics of, you know, some of the stuff, the behind the scenes stuff that doesn't quite make it to the podcast. So hasta luego.
Sí.
You're going to say hasta luego, goodbye, or adios?
Yeah, adios amigos.